Hello and welcome to the Great International Craft Show, or Gics11. Wow, 11 shows. And thank you for joining me in my art journal class today. This is what we're about to create. Oh, very Christmassy, but not Christmassy. Christmas colours, red and green. Passes Christmas, got gold on it. So this is using two of my new release stencils for Christmas in the background, two of my older release Christmas and one of my faces and some of my baubles, and another manufacturer's stencil as well. So without further ado, let's get crafting so we can create this fantastic looking page. Bye for now. Not bye. Let's get onto the page. I was about to say bye. Okay, so let's get started with this art journal page. So I am working in an altered book about cats, and I just need to prep my page. Obviously, if you're working in a commercial journal, you don't need to do anything. You can just start straight away. But I want to just knock this text back a bit. No. Just knock it back a bit, or push it into the background. Just going to put also a bit of tape down my spine to reinforce it. Just putting some glue, and I'm going to glue some masking tape there. Or to just stop that from gapping and pulling apart. I can find the end of the sticky tape. So I would probably do this in a commercial journal as well. If you find that your spine is starting to having issues pulling the masking tape off, that's weird. Starting to gap or pull away on some of the pages, especially between signatures, it sometimes can do that. And you don't hardly notice the tape when you're finished. We'll cover it all up and you won't know it's there. So I usually like to put a strip down the spine and a strip either side just to help strengthen it and reinforce it with a bit of glue. Just want to snip these bits of tape off. And then I'm going to give my page a coat of gesso. So if you've not heard of gesso before, gesso is an undercoat or a sealer or a primer, it's also called. And it will seal the page, and being a white gesso, it will knock back some of this black text or make it less prominent. So gesso comes in a huge variety of brands, obviously not Vegemite brand. I just put my larger bottles into smaller bottles so they're easy to handle. So some gessos are more opaque than others. Some are a bit more translucent when you're buying across different brands, so you may need two coats. You could substitute it for white paint, but sometimes white paint has a bit of a gloss or a shine when it dries. Gesso has hidden grit in it. You can sometimes feel a bit of the grit. So it grips to things and lets things grip to it. So sometimes white paint sort of won't substitute as well, but if you don't have any. You could also do any other colour of paint as well. You can get... I just use white because I'm wanting to put colours on top of it. So you don't have to be too exact. A little bit of texture or brushworks adds to your page as well. So there'll be lots of drying and pausing in this video. So when I say I'm going to pause the video for you, it'll just run straight through the next clip. I just say I pause because sometimes I change what's in front of me and people think the video's jumping around, or they've missed a bit, or a bit's been cut off. That's just why I say I pause video. That will do. I will go dry this off and we'll be right back and starting to add some of our colour. Okay, so we've all dried off. My light decided to move. I must have kicked it. So I'm incorporating this face with my Christmas layout today. So she's going to be decorated with Christmas stuff. My idea is to put some baubles on the top of her head somehow. As like, cut the bauble bit off and use them as like decorative things. So what I want to do, so I want to work on my background, but I want to know where my lady goes because I don't want to put necessarily colourful paint behind where she goes because it'd be too hard to paint over. So I've just grabbed a Stabilo oil pencil or a water soluble pencil. And I'm just going to mark the outside of the stencil where she goes because I'm going to paint behind her pink or white so she stands out. I think that's my idea. So that's where she sort of goes. So now I can work on my background. So I'll put that stencil over there. So I've got some paint colours. I thought we'll go traditional red and green. What have I got? That's red and green. So I have got, what's this? Evergreen in Dina Wakley, Ruby in Dina Wakley, and I've got Delusions paints in Postbox Red Shimmer paint. So this one's a shimmery, shiny, metallic-y paint. Oh, and Fresh Lime in Shimmer paint as well, apparently. Okay, that were the colours I chose. I don't have Postbox Red or Fresh Lime in the normal paints, the flat paints. Well, let's go with this. Might be a very shimmery page. Just going to turn my book on an angle because it's sort of easier. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to do patches of, like squarey patches, I think, in the background. Instead of doing stuff all over, just for something different. So I'm just going to put some paint on my mat. I'm going to grab some paint and just sort of do a patchwork. Messy patchwork sort of beginning, just for something different. Sometimes I apply paint with my fingers, sometimes I do it with a paintbrush. You could do it with a silicone brush. Sorry, I'm trying to paint and think at the same time. It's not quite working. By doing this, it will allow me to add some patterns into these squares, I hope. So I'm going to have an odd number, so I'm going to work out how many I'm going to have in a minute. I just want to bring it right up to here. I can always paint over a little bit, but it's going to be a bit harder to paint. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, and let's go up here as 5. Just got some baking paper between the pages of my next pages of my journal, just to stop any paint from drooping underneath. I think that's what I like. I think that's going to look good. Oh, I like this ruby colour. I haven't used this one much before. I tend to not use red and green except for Christmas. Okay, now I didn't get any water to wash out my brushes. That was intelligent. Just a moment. Okay, I thought I grabbed everything I needed. Okay, so I'm just going to wash out my brush. I want like a dry brush. I'm actually going to get some paper towel. You don't want your brush sopping wet with water because then it will, you obviously want the red out of it. That would be handy. You don't want your brush sopping wet because it'll water down your paint and make a mess. So now I want to go evergreen. And I'm just working on a glass mat and it's very easy to clean up. I also dried off the ruby as well. Because red and green make brown, I don't want to make brown. So I dried off the colours in between. And I will do that between the next lot of colours as well. So I'll just fill that down there. So again, just going in with my squares. Like patchworky. I don't know why patchworky, because I don't know, I just felt like doing it that way this time. You can basically stick your paint down in any fashion. I think it might be cool to stencil on the different areas. And let's move that water so I don't accidentally throw it somewhere off my table. So you can still see a little bit of the text through the paint, which is okay. That's not a problem, but it was too bright without putting the white gesso on it. Do I gesso all the time? No. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Now we need a fifth little area. I'm about to get paint everywhere, which is nothing unusual. Okay, another green area. Let's go in above here and put it in here. Doesn't matter that those two areas touch. Got to clip my microphone back on. Now I should be better sounding, hopefully. Okay. Actually, I might just extend this one over to the end here. Well, I've got, oh, it's a perfect amount of paint. If I had extra paint, I usually grab another journal and just paint it in. But I think I just put the perfect amount of paint out. That's why I like these Dina Wakley paints, because you can just put the littlest amount of paint out. Okay, now I'm going to wash my brush again. I'm going to add some shimmer paint. Okay, so we're going to add some green shimmer paint first. The red's a bit close in colour. Maybe we'll just do the green and a few bits of red. So I'm not sure whether the shimmer will actually show up well on the camera. It has like a metallic-y shine. These paints, the Delusions paints have a ball bearing in them, so you do need to give them a bit of a shake because they can settle in transit or just sitting around in your stash. Actually, we might paint right up to here. And we're going to go into here. I didn't dry that other green because green and green won't really mix and make mud. So that's okay. I don't mind if I overlap the other colours a bit. So I might bring this one down just a little. And turn my book around so I'm not painting upside down a lot. And we might go here. Oh, I love the shine on these paints. Okay, red, 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 red. So we might go a little bit of a strip here because then I don't have two reds touching, maybe. Well, that's the idea, but I think I'm going to have red touching over there. So I'm going to put red there, red there, red there, and red there. That'll work. Okay. So I'm just going to take... This will work. Just a scrap bit of paper and put that little bit of paint on because I don't like to waste anything. So I don't have a journal nearby. So I'm just reaching for a, ideally something that doesn't have writing on it. Ah, there we go. One fell out of your book. Just a piece of grid paper, and all I'm going to do is this, and then this becomes a bit of collage paper in my one-day box. It just means I don't waste a bit of paint. Whoops. So I can go and stamp on that. I can just use it in collage. If I've got any other paint left over, I will put it on top of that as well. Okay, so wash our paintbrush again. Oops, dry it off. I'm going with some red shimmer, which is Paintbox Red. Ah, I don't think I've used Paintbox Red yet. Let me have a look. Nope. Ah, that's terrible, isn't it? I haven't used Paintbox Red. So they all come with a little cap when you first buy them. And I just want to shake it like anything. Can't hear the ball yet. This one's a bit thicker. Some paints are thicker than others. But I've given it a good shake up. This one is a bit thicker. I find that with Delusions paint. Some are really thin and some are thick. They're weird. Just sort of mix it up a bit. Ooh, nice shimmer. And it is a different red colour to the other one, which is good. We're just going to go in here and paint the rest of the squares. They almost look like presents in the background, stacked up everywhere. Oops, just got that cord. Let's get that bit of crinkly paper out because I'm nearly finished the messy stuff. And that's annoying me as well. I'm sure the crinkling's annoying you. It's just there to protect the next page of my journal, which I'm just going to be very careful. I'll just put a bit of paper towel on it while I'm painting in that direct spot. It just stops you from getting paint on either your clean pages that you haven't used yet or your pages you've already done beautifully in your art journal. See if I can squeeze out every last little paint on this brush, and I don't have to put any more paint out. I've just got enough. Oh, that was good timing. Usually I squeeze way too much paint out. Okay. clean up that. I know I'm going to put my elbow in it at one stage, but let's try and not do that. Okay, so I'll give that a bit of a dry. I'll dry that completely off and then I will be back. While that is drying a bit, I might paint my face pink. I couldn't find a real good skin colour. So I've got Dina Wakley Blushing, which is a bit pink for my liking, so I'm going to add a bit of white to it, and I'm just going to do it on my page. I'm just going to grab another paintbrush. So this is going to be the base for my face, and then I can paint in the hair if I think the hair needs painting. By mixing it directly on your page, you'll get different tones as well. I might have a bit of a go of doing a bit of shadowing in the face. We'll see how we go. The Stabilo Oil Pencil is now getting activated when I am going around and touching it with the wet paint, which is fine. That's why I'm doing at some other stage. So I sort of want a bit more colour in the middle of her face. See if I can go right up to this edge of these bits without making a mess. That's why I made sure the paints on the outside were dry first. That looks good. Stick that in the water. I'll give that a bit of a dry. So you can let things naturally dry, or you can speed up the drying process with a hairdryer or a heat. So I actually grabbed a couple of my older stencils. So I've grabbed my holly and leaves, and this is my poinsettia flowers. I might grab my smaller poinsettia flower as well, and maybe the tree stencil. So I want to put some detailing over the paint, and I'm just thinking whether I want to do it with paint or whether I want to do it with ink. Ink will certainly be nicer. Let me go grab my inks. I thought I was going to use the paint. I think I'm going to use the inks. I think I'm going to go with the inks. Okay, so I grabbed what reds and greens I had. So I've got Red Geranium from Wendy Vecchi. I've got Barn Door from Archival Ink. I've got Fern Green from Archival, and Leaf Green, and what's this bright one? Vivid Chartreuse. Okay. The reason I've got Archival is it's permanent, and if I go and do something else over the top, these inks won't run. So my idea is to, and I think in each colour I'm going to keep the same stencil. So let's pick the dark red, and I think I'm going to go dark. I'm going to go this one over it. So ideally I'm going to use a blending brush. I love the blending brushes with the stencils. I'm just going to do a little bit on a paper towel just to clean my brush in case I've got black or some other yucky colour in it. I just put paint back there. So all these little bristles pick up an amazing amount of ink, and then all the little bristles get in all the nooks and crannies of your stencil. So I'm just keeping my stenciling within the red. If I go a little over, it's not the end of the world, but I'm trying not to. Wow, I like that. So I'm going to go and add that and keep my stenciling consistent. So I'm going to find the next, that shimmer, that's red here. So I'm going to use different parts of the stencil, but I want to stencil the same stencil in the same colour just to give it a bit of continuity. That's a big word for so late at night. Just helps to tie it all together. You can do it randomly if you want. I'm going to keep turning my book upside down, so I've just got to work out what's shimmer and what's not. I'm going to do some here. Helps to tie your page together if the same colours are stenciled in the same likeness, because it sort of cuts down on the busyness or the what am I trying to think of? Chaos of the page. Trust me, my pages have a lot of chaos lately. So art journaling is all about fun, all about play. There's no right and wrong ways to do stuff. There are a few guidelines like drawing in between and sort of working with colours that work well together. and stuff like that to achieve a good page. But hey, if you want to experiment, and I often do, and put weird colours together and different combinations, go for it. It's your page. Have fun. For me, art journaling is all about the journey to get to the end of the destination, not the destination. So if I get to the end of this page and go, okay, yeah, if I really hate it, you're not going to see it. Often I like my pages, but sometimes I look at my pages and go, oh, I could have done something slightly different. But that's okay. I'm going to, I think, do that darker green on here and this one on here, hopefully, and then I'll use this other red one on here. So on this light green, I think I'll go my holly leaves. So art journaling for me is all about taking the time out of my day, had a stressful day, sit down and play, get messy, get inky, get painty, and the end product is not what I'm aiming for. And I think some art journalists get caught up in seeing some other artists that have been doing it for years and have absolutely gorgeous and beautiful pages and try to compare themselves to them and go, oh, my page didn't turn out as nice, as beautiful. But you learn along the way, you experiment, have fun, and you too will learn and grow and create some beautiful pages. Trust me, I have some shockers. You just don't see those ones. And art journaling can be very personal. If you don't want to share your pages, you don't have to. Obviously, my stuff goes all over the internet, but as an artist, that's my choice. You can close your book and not show anyone. You can show your teenage daughter like I usually do and get interesting comments back. Some I don't appreciate, but, well, that's teenagers for you. Some of this is probably going to get covered up, but I don't know where it's going to get covered up, so I'm having fun stenciling. It's coming together. Sometimes I don't have an idea of what I'm art journaling or what my finished page will look like until I get there. Sometimes I have an idea in my head and I go, okay, I'm envisaging this girl in a arty background with something going on. Sometimes I just pick a couple of main products and have a play. It just depends on sometimes what mood I'm in. Often if I have a preconceived idea in my head, that's when I get to the end and don't like really what I've done because I've got an idea of what it should look like and it's not going that way. So often I just let it go, as they say. I just got to grab my other two stencils. So these stencils are this year's release. So we've got our mini poinsettia and we've got assorted trees. Well, they might be called different things on the website. So all these products will be linked under a category called Gics Products for Classes or Gics Class Products on the left-hand side, so they're easy to find. Just cleaning out the green from my... What did I grab? No, I'm not doing green. Oh, yes, I am. I'm doing green trees in the green. Let me move my paints out of the way. I've got stuff everywhere around my desk. As we all get, our workspace always shrinks. And when I'm doing multiple demonstrations over a day and filming videos, I tend to not clean up and put stuff back. So I tend to just keep piling stuff up on my desk and I can't move and I end up with a tiny, tiny little space to craft in. Now, I don't worry about cleaning my stencils. I don't mind a bit of ink on my stencils. That looks really cool. So you don't necessarily have to clean them. You can if you want to. Obviously, if I'm using texture paste or anything that I know will set and wreck my stencils, I will clean them. But life's too short to clean stencils. Sometimes it's easier to actually have some ink or some paint on them because they're easy to see. Or is that just me? So just lining up different parts of the trees. Up here I can do some more detail on them afterwards. I've got an idea of how to bring all this together. As I keep going on an art journal page, more ideas. Let's not have a tree growing out of her head. I have more ideas pop in and then they pop into my head and I go, oh, I can do this, I can do that. So I've got an idea in a minute to tie this all together after I finish inking, and this bit's a bit boring, I do apologise. I wish I could speed bits up like this, but I'm not so good on video editing at the moment. So you get what you get, and I don't edit myself, and I don't take out bits that I have stuffed up or words that I've said wrong. So this is barn door, because life's too short for that. And I don't edit out my mistakes. I like to leave them in because you learn from them as well. Hopefully I learn from them. Just trying to go a bit darker with this so it's seen. Sometimes it's a good idea to pick your book up and look at it from a distance, because always looking at it this way, you get a different view. So I often pick my book up and stand it up and walk away from it. Come on, inkpad, stop running all over the page. Just to get a different look of it. Because I could hardly see this red until I stood my book up, and then I go, oh, it is actually going on there. It is good. So even though this one's a poinsettia one and we used a bigger poinsettia one, they look really, really nice. This one's a really nice stencil. I'm trying to use a bit of all my releases, but I keep gravitating back to this. I think, oh, the whole 3 projects I've used this stencil in for Craft Alive, I just realised. Okay, determined not to use this one tomorrow in tomorrow's project. Maybe I will. So it's my favourite stencil at the moment. And you could get away with not doing this, even though it looks like a poinsettia. You could get away with using it for non-Christmas layouts as well. Okay. Now, I'm really liking that. But what I think it needs is tying together with some pen. Let me reach for my... That's the one I want. Let me reach for my Posca paint pen. So this one's a bit more of a thicker paint pen. This is a PC3M. Sounds like it's nearly empty. I have to go foraging for another one. But what I want to do is actually turn this into like quilting. So I want to sort of outline all of my... Do I want to... Hang on. Let me rub that out. I just had a thought. The advantage of drawing with paint pen over pen is that if you make a mistake like I just did or changed your mind, you can quickly rub it out because the paint has sealed. I was going to do it around the wiggly shapes, but I think I'm going to try to keep it quite square. And what I might do is come back in and do some faux stitching to make it look like a Christmas quilt. And I could have done this with the thinner pen, but I actually want it to be quite bold. So I don't really mind if a little bit of colour goes into the other sections. I was going to trace around the wiggly shapes, but I think I'm going to keep it straight for now. Well, once this dries, I don't have a choice. Okay, what am I going to do when I come to the head? I think I'm just going to leave the head. So I could do little wiggly stitches like zigzag. Oh, I think that is coming to life now. Often a bit of pen work on your page, whether it is drawing around shapes like this or drawing other shapes, it just brings your page to life. Just make sure your ink, your paint, your glue is 100% dry, or what I say is 1000% dry, because if you get any paint or ink or glue on the tip of your Posca paint pen, they don't like it and they tend to seize up and not dry. I'm going to leave just around the head for now because I'm going to come back after I've stenciled the head in and finish up around the edge when I know where my head is. Oh, I really like that. And I think I want to do it on the edge too. So let's see how good I can be at putting a really close line around the edge of the page. Usually I leave the bordering till the end, but I'm going to see... Oh wow, hopefully you can't hear that rain. It is bucketing down cats and dogs. And I've got a tin roof. And that doesn't help. So usually I leave my bordering to the end, but, well, we're just going with it tonight. It's getting a little bit in, but that's okay. Trying to keep it to the edge. Whoops. don't hear whoops, do we? So as you can see, I'm turning my book around because that's just easier for my arm to work the one direction than try to curl my arm around and get myself in a knot. So I'll come back and do around the face when I finish the face, but I think that is looking rather good. Okay, now, how am I going to get this face on? And what colour do I want to do her hair? Okay. I just noticed a couple of my dots haven't been popped out. There we go. Maybe I should turn the camera off and okay, I'm just wondering. I think I want to do it in archival ink. So where is my archival ink? Here it is. And then I can always go over it in pen if I want it darker. So let's start off light, because starting off light, you can always darken stuff. But if you're going really dark, you sort of have to commit to what you're doing. Okay. I want to go in and do her eyes. And her nose. And her other eye. Obviously her face is, this is a mask slash sort of stencil, so her face is going to stay that cream colour. I'm just going to flip that up. Ooh, pretty. Okay. Now, wondering what colour hair she needs. Because, let me find my Stabilo All pencil again. She needs a colour hair. Just going to pencil in where her hair goes. So face stencils are really cool, and you can use them in so many different ways. You can just use the facial features and make up your own hair. You could stick stuff in the hair. Don't be restrained by just sticking a stencil down and plopping paint or ink through it. Change it. Use parts of it. These wavy are good for art, for journaling. So put some journaling lines on your page. So think of your stencils in so many different ways. Okay, what colour hair are you going to have, lady? I'm going to have to go grab a colour of paint. We go really funky, or we go traditional, or what will we go? We go metallic. Let me think on that, and I'll be right back with a paint colour when I choose it. Because it's Christmas, got to have some sparkly gold. So I've got Dina Wakley Gilt paint, which is a metallic gold. Just looking at the time. So I'm just going to squeeze some of this. Ah! Really? Oh, Jesus. Trust me. Put paint where I didn't want it. That's all right. Day saved. Silly paint squirting everywhere. Okay. I was just about to say, I love the Dina Wakley paints because you can squirt a small amount of paint out. So if I go over her eyes, I can re-stencil those in. And again, that water-soluble, Stabilo water-soluble pencil will disappear when I add the paint next to it, or it will start to create a shadow as well. So when I'm using stencils, I like to get several different looks out of them, or use them in several different ways, especially when I look at faces, because I often look at a face stencil, even my own or other manufacturers, and go, how many times do I want to use that face? But when you start thinking about it, you can get so many different looks out of that one stencil. And it's fun to experiment. I'm hoping to do regular lives on my Facebook channel again, on my Facebook page, which is the same as our business name, Scrapbooking&Craft. Just life lately has just been nuts. Oh, I like the gold. Glad I went with that colour. So when I add the, come on, little bit of paint. There we go. I was waiting for it to squirt out again. When I stencil over with whatever I want to stencil over the detail with her hair, or I could just leave it like this. It should look really cool just like this. If I was leaving it like this, I'd probably not have had that bit of gold there. So you could use the stencil like this, and you don't have to do all the detail over the top. I'm just going to pick it up because I just want to come in here and go over and over that Stabilo oil pencil. It is a very water reactive black pencil, but it also helps to create shadows too. So it's good. It has two uses. Being water reactive, it'll disappear when you paint over it, and it will mix a bit of darky shadow in with our paint and create sort of a shadow, which is rather cool too. So she looks even cool like that without her stenciled on bits, but we're going to stencil on her bits. So there's no reason why I can't work more on the eyes and use that stencil as a jumping off point and go and work on her face a bit more. I am going to admit I can't draw a face, hence why I like stencils. And I'm not real good at shadowing faces. There's other artists out there that are fantastic at shadowing faces. I have a go. But I'm not real good. Let me dry that, the gold, and we'll be right back. So to bring more black into the piece, because I've got like dark blacks in this background, I'm going to actually stencil her hair back to front. I'm going to stencil her bits on here. Now I've just got to be able to line it up. Excuse my head if it comes in shot. I'm trying to line it up. For anyone that's new to my business and my classes, I do have low vision. I have low vision. I can't even drive a car. Big roads are so mean, aren't they? Probably a good idea I don't drive. So sometimes my head will come into shot. I don't mean to do that, but sometimes I just have to line things up. When I'm crafting by myself and not filming, I have everything quite close to my nose. But that's a bit difficult to get a good filming angle. So when I'm stenciling something like this, it's got quite fine detail. I want to use a sort of a heavy body paint, so a thicker paint. So Dina Wakley paint is awesome. And I want to use a cosmetic sponge, one of these squishy ones. Doesn't matter if it's like a wedge or this one is a flat oval. And you just want to tap into your paint, but you don't want to go straight to your stencil. See how that big blob's on top? You want to tap off onto a scrap bit of paper or my glass mat here and work that paint into the sponge so it almost looks like there's none there. But trust me, there's lots there. This will stop it gooping underneath your stencil. Hopefully. No, it will. Sometimes you get a bit of gooping anyway. A bit of run under your stencil. Okay, let's just flick that up and see what that's like. Ooh, that's pretty. Just going to gently put that down. I am going to go over the facial features just to make it all match. So it's just a matter of going around. I may need to do 2 coats because that gold is quite shimmery. I will do 1 coat and then I'll take my stencil off and I'll see what happens. So as you can see, I'm holding my stencil close to where I am stenciling and keep moving my hand in small areas. That's an easy way to do it. Then trying to hold the stencil in like right down the bottom and stenciling right up the top. I think I might have put some up underneath. No, that's looking pretty good. Maybe a bit more up here. Just going over the crease of my book. I have overlapped. When I'm working on a double page, I like personally to have my focal image sort of overlapping a little. I don't have to have it half and half because that would look a bit silly. So I sort of overlap it just enough, sometimes a third, sometimes a less, sometimes a quarter, just to tie the 2 pages together so they don't look separate. Let me take it off. Ooh. Oh, wow. Ooh, wow. Okay, that's better than I expected it to be. Okay, let's dry her off. And I will be right back. While I still got the black paint out, my face is all dry. I want to use 3 of my baubles. I'm going to cut off this bottom bit. And I want to sort of give her a tiara. So don't think Christmas shapes have to be used for Christmas things. These are baubles. We're going to turn them upside down. And it's going to form like a tiara, like a hatty thing. Or a crown. So I want to paint these black and then I'm going to back them in a bit of gold. So get my journal out of the way. So these white shapes from my website are made from 400 GSM cardstock. So you can throw a lot of paint and ink at them and make them whatever colour you want. And then they're thin enough. They're not like the chipboard thickness that makes your journals too thick. So I'm going to load up my sponge the same way. Just go up and down on some scrap paper. And what this will do is this, you like stenciling, but you're also covering your white mixed media shape. And it jumped off and it revealed what I was going to reveal in a minute. You sort of get a 2-for-1er. I like 2-for-1ers. So this bit of paper obviously goes in my one-day box, and one day I will cut these little baubles out. Probably not use them as a focal image because they probably won't be perfect. But I will use them as something in the background. Actually, that one's quite pretty good. So I will sort of get, I need some more paint, sort of colouring that, but getting that as well, because I could do it on the glass mat, but then I have to throw all that paint away, and what's the point of that? So it's good to get a 2-for-1 and make something pretty for next time. So I'm deliberately going outside the bauble, so when I cut them out, I do have paint outside. See, that one's a bit more messy because I was getting carried away. And I had too much. This is what happens when you have too much ink, too much paint on your sponge. And you're trying to talk and do stuff at the same time. No, too much ink on, too much paint on your sponge. Do you know how hard it is to actually talk and work? That one's a bit better. So that one's done. Just need to do this one. Don't know why I did that one twice. I'm finding it hard to work and talk lately. Making my brain concentrate way too much. Should have enough paint out here. Oh, much better one. So I'm not looking for perfection. Well, that one's pretty good. Because I will use them as sort of a background piece or a collage piece in the background. Or they might get sent to a friend in a happy mail. Sometimes I go to my one-day box and have that much stuff. I send them out to friends and things. It's always good to get something that someone else has created, and then you can make something with it. Got to go find a piece of cardstock that I can put gold paint on. So let me do that. So I found a scrap of paper. I'm just going to paint some gilt on it so it matches. And I just want to have a look to see how big. So I want about half of it. So I want it to match the gold in her hair. So I'm just going to paint this out. And then we can dry it off and stick our baubles over it. I could have grabbed a bit of gold paper, but this means it will match your page. I often do this if I want something to match and want a backing paper. I'll take the same colour of paint and put it on the paper. Doesn't matter if it's a bit streaky, you're really not going to see it. Okay, throw that in the water. Dry this off. Sorry, my chair keeps rolling away. I need to get a mat for under my chair because at the moment I'm on lino and I'm on an office chair and I keep going to roll backwards. So I'm going to stick these on here. So I find the easiest way to cut these out is to actually stick them on first as opposed to try to trace them on. Just going to use a good craft glue because this is a heavy cardstock. Wait for my glue to get down to the tip. So I don't need to get glue everywhere. I just need to aim for the fattest points or thickest points of cardstock. Here, there and everywhere. Yep. And then stick it down. Let's just put the black lid back on my paint. And we'll go and do the other two and then we'll cut them out. So the baubles and all the white paper shapes in my range are reversible. Obviously words aren't, but on the back they do have a few, I cannot talk, a few burn marks or brown marks or little bits of black. These shapes are laser cut, so they're burnt with a laser, burnt with a fire. The more intricate, like these ones have a bit more black on them than other shapes that are just like silhouettes, and because the laser has to go round and round and round and cut all little shapes out. So if you do want to reverse them, all you have to do is, if you want to keep them white, paint them white. If you're going to paint them black like I did, you don't have to do anything to them except for painting them black. And some of the shapes have a little bit of brown sort of dust on them. Dust is a good way of explaining it. So sometimes when we're packing shapes, we'll transfer a bit of the browny black dust onto the front of the shape. We don't do it intentionally, but sometimes it just happens. So they are good to use. Don't worry, when you open your packages of the white mixed media cardstock, they're not dirty or not usable. They are very much usable. It's just the way they're manufactured. Little scissors would be gooder. Oh my god, what is with words? I'm having a struggle with words this entire craft show. I don't know. I've had some very, very exhausting days. So I like to cut them out individually first. And then you can sort of use the edge of the black shape as a guide just to run your scissors around. They're quite easy shapes to cut out. I apologise if my head gets in the shot, or let's put something there so you have to watch the glare, because that is highly distracting. So yeah, if my head comes into shot or my hands go out of frame, I'm not doing it on purpose. I just can't see what I'm doing. When I'm fussy cutting, I usually have whatever I'm cutting really, really close to my body. Now, just thinking, I want to cut the ball a bit off. I'm just thinking where I'm going to cut it off. So I'm just going to cut it there, follow across there, and come out there. That's what I want. Beautiful. So I often back some of these shapes with black paper, and the black paper that comes in your packaging, if you do go to my website and purchase anything, is fantastic to back some of your shapes with. Obviously, we won't back black shapes on black paper, but I use that thin paper all the time. Just noticed I've got a big blob of glue where I don't want it. That's right. I might add some glitter onto these. So we're just going to go in the same spot, just go here, and just follow it round. You can sort of tell if you're going to cut some of the white bit because it gets really hard with the scissors. There we go, number 3. They don't take long to fussy cut out, and they're quite simple shapes. You could also do this with a knife as well, but I'm dangerous with a knife. I prefer scissors. So again, I just want to go in there, across there, and come out there. So don't be afraid to cut bits off shapes or cut shapes in half or use only parts of things. You don't have to use it as it comes in the package. Even though I produce all these myself, I often cut things up. I could go design it differently, but it's just easy to chop it up. Okay, bring this back. So she's going to have one there. Excuse me, shape, sit where I place you, which would be a good idea. Which way did that go up? That goes up this way. So actually, I want to bring that one down to cover up this bit of a baldness. I can always go in with a black pen and touch it up. It looked better before. What have I done? I had it sitting nicely. Maybe I'll drop that one down. Yep, I think we go with that. How does that look? Why am I asking how it looks? I'm used to doing lives. It's one advantage of doing a live video. I can ask you what it looks like. Let's stick them on, stick and plonk. Just looking at the time of how long I've been fiddling. I could sit here and fiddle with an art journal page for a couple of hours. I'm dreadful. Sometimes I'll sit here and I'll cut out the most intricate little things and stick hundreds of them on just because it sounded like a good idea at the time. Halfway through it sort of doesn't. So she's got like a tiara crown on. So this one's going in the middle of the book. So I'm actually going to try to fold it. Oh, see the cats. So I'm going to fold it and hold it so the glue will grab. And sort of shoving it into the spine. I try not to stick too much in my spine because it can get bulky and your book can look like an alligator. Obviously your spine's here and your pages are open like this and your book doesn't shut anymore. But every now and again it doesn't matter. Okay, what next? I'm thinking of a quote over here. So I'll have to go find a quote of some description. And I'm thinking, do we need some more pen work done? Let me go find a quote and then I'll decide what else I'm doing. It sort of needs something else in the background. Let me think on that. So I've just went to my stencil stash. I don't have a lot of wording stencils yet. I haven't sort of dived into that. So I found this Colour Blast stencil by, they're renamed Bearty, an Australian company. And I found this one. So even though it's Christmassy themed, I thought, why not? And I like this thing. I'm thinking I might put this up here. So I'm going to do some more stenciling. What's the worst we can do? Stuff it up. If I'm really quick, I can wipe stuff off if I don't like it. So I'm going to turn my book upside down. And I'm going to position... Let me just move my microphone out of the way so it doesn't hit the table. And I want to position this like here. Sorry if my head's in the way. Just trying to line it up. And I just want to do this top of this feather. Not sure whether this is available anymore. Hillbilly Scrapping may have it. That's where I got mine from. But I have had this a while. Bearty tend to have ranges for a while and then discontinue them. Ooh, wow. I like that. And I don't mind combining other companies' stuff with my stuff. I realise I don't make everything. And if they've made it very well, why do I don't need to make something very similar. I can just use theirs. I'm going to... Oh, now she looks like she's got horns. Can I add a couple more? Out here, and out here. Yeah, we'll go for that, because otherwise she looks like she's got horns. So she's got a very good tiara piece on. So don't be afraid just to use bits of your stencil. Obviously this is an arrow. Ooh, that wasn't as good as I'd like it to be. Oh, great. Now we've got thunder happening. So if you hear rumbling, it's not my stomach. I have eaten. It's the thunder. I've had thunder for ages. I wonder if we're going to get lightning. Ooh. My daughter loves lightning. She likes to stand out and watch it. Oh! I stuffed that up. Where's my baby wipe? So let's quickly wipe that off. I have to go get a clean baby wipe. And hopefully it hasn't wiped that archival ink off. Okay. Weird, that archival ink is not supposed to wipe off. So if you do goof it up, you can, what was that? That was red. You can quickly take it off with a wet baby wipe when you have paint on paint. And this archival ink should not have moved. Weird. Maybe it wasn't. Oh, it's been dry for ages. Is that the colour I used on there? That's right. We're going to put black over it. Anyway, we rescued it. I obviously had too much paint in my sponge. See, I just showed you what not to do. Now let's do what we should do. Less paint on sponge, better image. Ah, there we go. Awesome. I'm just going to add a little bit of extension to extend them into her hair when I finish in a minute. I don't know whether I like that now. I think I need to go over with a bit of white to bring them up. I'm going to do some white pen work in a minute. Okay. And we're going to stencil some words. So I'm going to follow your dreams. I'm going to put Be 100% You up the top because she's sort of being a little bit different with her headdress. Knowing when to stop and walk away. These, once I put some white pen on them, should shine and should come up a bit more. At the moment they're looking a bit ugly, as we say. Most scrapbook pages or art journal pages, mixed media, always go through an ugly stage where you're questioning what you're doing. I think I do that about every stage. Follow your dreams, and then I'm going to stencil this upside down because it's just easier. I haven't used this stencil before. It's nice and clean. Now it's not. So even though this says Be 100% You, you could just use the 100%. You could use the words and mix it all up. So don't think when you have a stencil, like a face or a word stencil, you have to use it as the designer intended. It's fun to change it up. And if you didn't want to stencil directly on your page and be brave, stencil on a bit of paper and cut it out. The only problem is you will see that whatever paper you stencil it on. So do I want something in the middle? No. Okay, let's clean up. Let's use up that paint. There's my piece of paper. Let's just stencil one of these feathery arrows over this green just to use my paint up. I don't like to waste any paint. I'm dreadful. I don't throw out any little scraps of paper either. I'm very dreadful. I'll do another one here. You can always, just going to fit in. You can always cut this up and use this as collage, or if it's good enough for a focal image. Can I stencil Be 100% You? Yeah, I can. So I've got loads of bits of paper like this with different stenciling things on it using up paint, and one day I will use them. I probably should stick a little box of them on my desk and then it might force me to use them. Okay. So I won't worry about cleaning the black paint off the stencil. The only time I clean my stencils is if I'm using something like texture paste or modelling paste. Anything like that that dries raised, you do want to get off your stencils, but black paint doesn't really matter. Okay, let me give this a dry. Then we're going to use some white pen, and I think we're nearly done. It doesn't take long to dry because when you're stenciling, you're using a very small layer. So what I'm going to do is do some outlining on the words. And again, my head is, can I do this upside down? Possibly not. Let's do it up this way. So I apologise if my head's going to come into frame, but I'm just going to put some, I'm not going to outline the entire word, but I'm just going to put some highlights on. So I'm sort of doing my highlights on the left side and sort of the bottom. If you're consistent with, it doesn't matter what side you do them on, but if you're sort of a bit consistent, it sort of looks a bit more consistent, if that makes sense. Oh my God, words tonight. So I'm not highlighting sort of every bit, just a bit here and there. And the white paint pen is sometimes a bit sketchy and doesn't come out exactly white, but that's okay. But as you can see, just adding that little bit of white, we can get the shine off it. It's going to be fun to photograph this page. It's got lots of shimmer because we've got the shimmer in here and then we've got shimmer in here and shimmer in here. But see how that white just brings it out, so you can see from down here to up here what difference a little bit of line work makes. So I'm going just inside the white. Sorry, just inside the black with the white, so you can sort of see a little bit of the black with the white on the edge, if that makes sense. Clear as mud, right? So long as you sort of keep your letters consistent of what side you're doing the letters on, it looks like it's got a bit of continuity. If you sort of just go and stick them anywhere, you can get into a bit of trouble. Sometimes I get into trouble because I sort of start one direction and I fall off the wagon and do it another direction. Again, if you make a mistake with the white, you can just quickly rub it off with a baby wipe. But it does make the little bit of time to either do a bit of white or a bit of black line work just brings your page all together and takes it from I like it to wow, I love it. I will stick it in the Louvre. Not the Louvre, the Louvre. The Paris Art Exhibition, the art gallery. Okay. So I'm just going to do some white lines on her as well. I'm going to tilt my book up so I can see. And I'm just going to do lines on one side of her hair just as sort of a highlight. I'm sorry if this is a hard angle to see for you, but it's a better angle to see for me. So see how that bit of white just makes it shine. I know it's hard to see because you've got the shine of the gold, but this is looking beautiful. Now, because I did it on like the left side on that side of the hair, I've got to do the left side on this side of the hair. The reason I did the left side, just because I started with that side. And it doesn't matter if my lines are a bit wiggly or they come too far into the bit, I'm not well worried. I just want a little bit of highlight there, and I'm just going to do a little bit of work in the flowers, just a bit of abstractness. Now I want to fix up these things. So again, I'm not putting a line around everything. I'm just picking a few lines just to add a few highlights. Yeah, I like that now. So taking the time to add your lines, my rule is if it's too dark, like these are a bit dark, go in and add some white. If you've got an area that's too light, go in and add some dark. Oh, I do like those. And knowing when to stop and walk away, put down the pen. Good luck learning that because I'm still learning. I can't teach you that one. I say it that way because it's a learnt skill. You may not like the white on this. You may just like the black. Art journaling is very personal, so you stop when you want to. You stop when you're happy. Everyone's level of happiness is different. I just want to go within a little bit of black and connect those things because they're floating and they're bugging me. I don't like floating things on my page. So I'm just going to connect the stem down a bit because I missed it when I stenciled. Sorry, my book is going all around and I might just go into there. That one is joined. So with the paint pens, you can fix up anything. Whoops. Got things falling out of my journal. That one I've got to finish filming. Where'd it go? I think it's the next page. No, I don't know where it goes. I'll put it away in a minute. Okay. So what I might do is see these splits in the eyes because that's how the stencil has to be. But and I apologise, my head may come into shot. I'm just going to draw between those lines and connect them up. And I'm going to do that with the mouth as well. Totally optional. It's hard to do stencils because if I did the mouth connected completely, it would fall out. So it has to have those interconnecting breaking lines like in the hair. And the last thing I might do is put in the white of the eyes and the catch-all of the eyes. The catch-all is this white spot here. And if you add, I'm hoping the gel pen is white enough, opaque enough. If not, I might have to go to a paint pen. So by adding the catch-all and whitening up this area, it just brings the face alive. Or it does when other artists do it. Let me see if I can work the magic. Ooh, it does. Oh, now she looks spooky. She's looking right at you. Now, am I done? I think I'm done. What do you think? It's very shiny. But it's Christmas is a very shiny time of the year. This is going to be murder to photograph in a minute. The shiny things and photographs will not photograph really well. So thank you very much for watching. So this is the third day of the Great Australian Craft Show. I'll be back in the classroom at 4:30 tomorrow, Sunday, with a scrapbook page. And I'll be doing some live demonstrations on my YouTube channel. No, wrong one. On my Facebook page on Sunday as well. And hopefully on an ongoing basis when life gives me a few minutes for me, which would be lovely. Thank you very much. I'll put some still photos at the end so you can see some close-ups. And I think we did a really cute page. Love to see if you attempt this page. Tag social media Scrapbooking_Craft, the same as our business name. I often search that tag to see what you lovely ladies are up to. Even if you use a totally different stencil and you just use the concept of what I've done, that's fine too. Bye. Have fun.